I
I'm
think you
going to
can just
call.
call the meeting to order.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:43 p.m. With a quorum. Any public comments? No. Okay. Additions or changes to the agenda this evening? No. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the July 11th meeting? Julia makes a motion. I have a second. Anyone? Tommy, good work.
Wait,
Any
Tom
conversation?
can't second it.
Oh, you weren't here, Tommy.
He wasn't there. I can have
Sarah
Sarah or
seconds.
Matt.
Sarah seconds.
Perfect.
Sarah got it. Sarah beat you to it, Matt. All in favor? Or any discussion, rather? Sorry. No? All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Great. Okay. Let's see. We caught right back up here. We're actually ahead of schedule now. Okay, starting with some Horace Hill updates. So design was completed shortly after our previous meeting. We since I think I told you guys that I had already pulled the stormwater permit. We were working with state wetlands, which if any of you have ever done that, I'm sorry. It's can be a little hard to get a hold of them sometimes. But we made through it, everything fine. We did have company called Arrowwood come down and delineate the wetland for us. And actually many of the things that we wanted to do were outside of said wetlands, or what they also, some of our things that happened to be in a buffer happened to land in a class 3 where there is no 50-foot buffer. So we actually avoided many of the issues there. The bulk of the issues with wetlands was going to be on that main entrance trail. Anybody who's ever been in the bottom of Horace Hill knows that it gets rather wet there, even when it hasn't rained 1.5 inches all summer. So what they decided to do was to shift gears, and the hiking trail company that is working under Brook and Sinuosity, they decided that they're actually going to do a 5-foot wide by 1 foot high boardwalk through that section of the bottom of Horace Hill, which is going to get people up and out of the water, and is actually an allowed use according to wetlands. I have a fancy email from Rebecca saying that we're good to go with that. So we actually avoided having to pull a permit on that altogether. There is one more disc golf hole that may require a permit, but we're even if we decide not to move it, that permit will be pulled by the time they're going to build that final hole. That being said, we may decide to just shift that hole out of that buffer and not have to pull a permit for anything in that lower section, which would be preferable. So Brook and Sinuosity is in there with 3 machines, and they're sending me pictures on a pretty regular basis of just some absolutely gorgeous stuff for the bikes. The hiking trail company is down on the middle road right now, replacing culverts that washed out with all the rain that we've had. And then they'll from there shift down to the boardwalk and start working on the rest of the hiking trails. And the disc golf guys, they just got through Worlds, which has been a part of the plan all along, and they'll be in there to complete those 18 holes, by later this fall. That being said, we don't plan to do a grand opening this fall. That was never really the plan. We'd like to let it sit through the summer. We're obviously not going to probably keep people off it, but we're not going to advertise it a whole lot either. So as we go through the winter, you're going to start seeing a lot more publicly about, hey, come to Horace Hill and do all these super awesome things. We just don't want to advertise it and have a bunch of people on it before it really has a chance to settle. So yeah, we're cooking along. Those guys are doing amazing work in there, as we anticipated. And yeah, any questions, Sarah?
We're going to have something big and rah-rah in the spring then?
We absolutely are. So
okay, cool.
We will be doing a ribbon cutting, and I actually spoke with someone who's talking about possibly hosting a local event in there shortly after we open, kind of like a, not a triathlon, but like hike, bike, run, bike type of thing throughout the property. So we're gonna try to get something like that set up. But yeah, so we'll definitely, and like I said, through the winter here, we'll be pushing the marketing hard. We don't want to have it, overrun before we're ready, before it's settled and we're ready for people to be on it. I think the biking trails will be fine and things like that. I think it's better if we wait until the spring. It'll be absolutely be done this fall, but I think it's better if we wait until the spring to do that grand opening. Okay. Any other questions for me? Easy group. Okay. The Ridge project update. So this is short and sweet. Our friend
Eric, I'm sorry, it's Mike Garber.
Yes, Mike.
I'm sure it was an oversight, but did you give an update on the snowmobile trail that runs through Horace Hill?
Yeah, it's being updated as part of the plan.
Updated as part of the plan, and we think it'll be completed by the end of the but before the start of the new snowmobile season.
Yeah, it's all going to be completed before the start of the new snowmobile season.
Terrific, great to hear that update.
Okay, sorry, Mike. No, I didn't mean to leave it out. Yeah, that's part of the trails plan that we've looked at the map a few times here in this group. But yeah, the snowmobile trail is absolutely a part of that plan and will be completed in time for the season. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Back to the Ridge project. Our friend Casey Merritt at United States Forest Service has decided that she will no longer be working for the United States Forest Service. So a little bit of a hiccup. She emailed and let us all know that, but I think Martina Barnes and Holly Knox are going to be picking up hopefully where Casey left off, and hopefully there's not too much of a hiccup. But Tommy has promised, Tommy's working with them on RFPs and things like that. So he said that he'll definitely keep us updated as those things come along and happen. Tommy, did you have any other updates on the Ridge project? I think you're muted. You're muted. No. Okay. No updates or? Okay, sorry. We'll give Tommy a minute. Do you want me to unmute you? Oh, Shannon, can you do that? You're the host.
There we go. I'm
There you
sorry. I'm not usually on my phone. I'm on my computer, so I'm not used to this.
No worries.
So yeah, I just wanted to see. So Casey, she went out to, I think, Zion National Park, so she didn't leave the Forest Service.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Sounds like a nice place to be. And I just wanted to, the last I heard from Casey and the rest of the group there was that their next step was to have a meeting with SOVTA as well as the town of Dover. I just wanted to see if you had heard the same thing, or maybe Sarah did, or someone else on the select board, because if that's not the case, then I will make sure to follow up with them. So we're not kind of, waiting on them, and we can still be proactive.
That was definitely part of the plan. I hadn't heard anything from them, Tommy. Maybe if you don't mind reaching out to them and just checking in on where we are with that meeting and when it might be a possibility to set something like that up, and then I can get it in front of the board and see, when that lines up for everybody. That would be awesome.
Okay, that sounds like a plan to me.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks, Tommy.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody good with Ridge project? Perfect. General trails and recreation updates. So there's not really an item here. It was more for anyone to ask me questions on any of the things that we've done or projects we've been talking about that they were looking for an update on. Does anyone have anything that I haven't covered or won't be covering here shortly? Good stuff. Okay. So Valley Trail Bridge replacement update. I know this wasn't necessarily a Trails Committee thing, but it does fall in a trail in the town of Dover. So we put the RFP out. We got 4 bids, ended up going with the second highest bid, which was Renault Brothers, just because they were going to be using a more resilient material for the decking. They're going to be doing replacing the current 6x6s, which are not treated, with pressure treated 6x6s. And then on top of that, which is going to be new, will be a layer of pressure treated decking that runs with the bridge. Okay. So that when Dave plows over it, or, people are biking over it, you don't necessarily hit all those individual beams as you're going across. The other thing that this does for us is that if we run into a situation where the top starts to get mealy or soft or chewed up again, that all we have to do is pull off that top decking layer and replace that, as opposed to replacing the entire understructure of the bridge, which was the pricey part. Obviously, they're not replacing any of the metal, except for the hardware. Their plan is to be there the last week of October or first week of November, with a completion time of 2 weeks, which is actually a lot shorter than what was originally anticipated for the project. So we will have that done ASAP. They're just wrapping up some flood work around the other southern parts of the state here. And once they complete that, they'll be out on the bridge and getting that taken care of. In the meantime, we will do our best to make a detour for people who are using the trail to get around that bridge for the time being. Okay. Any questions on that? Tommy?
All right, I successfully unmuted myself. So yeah, sort of related, and any of you folks who spend time out there, you might be able to help me. I actually do not spend a lot of time out there. However, you know, our crew was out there a lot this summer. We were improving some of the mountain bike trails, so we were very visual back there, and we have been receiving complaints, you know, with people in the community that don't realize that that's not all maintained by us for the and again, this is where I'm you know, you're gonna have to help me a little bit. I guess the part of the Valley Trail that is not a bike trail, where it's more the wide path that is maintained by the town. Obviously this summer was just a washout. However, there was a lot of gravel put down. So curious if it's going to be kind of sure packed to the way it was, because a lot of we've been getting complaints from people with like jogging strollers, you know, children who would use that kind of lived in that community, and you know, haven't really known what to say. So I was waiting for this meeting. Has anybody spent any time back there that might be able to expand upon that? Kristen, you're shaking your head. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, there was a giant culvert washout. I haven't been here in 2 weeks, but 2 weeks ago it was pretty significant.
So there was a lot of that. But then I think that it was partially fixed, but now it's just very, very rough gravel from what I understand. That's what I'm being told. So anyway, just wanted to bring that to your attention.
You're talking about the section on Crosstown Road, correct? That goes from Handle over to Country Club.
I don't want to speak out of turn, Eric, but I believe so, and I can get you you know, I can solidify that for you.
Yeah, I mean if it's where the culvert washed out, then that is on that road.
Okay.
And I'll reach out to Travis and see what the capacity is for them to get some SurePack over the top of that. I'm sure it's not a big deal. So I will reach out to him ASAP on that, and I will get you an update. Okay.
Great,
It's
thank you.
likely it has less to do with having the material than having the man hours.
Exactly.
We're just, the
I
flood
know.
kind of put them all, you know, kerflummeled.
Yeah, we're slamming pretty good. But I will absolutely reach out to Travis and get on that. Okay. And I'll get you an update as soon as I hear.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else on the Valley Trail Bridge replacement? Perfect. Yeah, just just so we're clear, this was on the paved section, not in the crosstown section. So Valley Trail improvements update, and I was hoping that Mike Purcell would be here, because he's the one who brought this topic up about potential improvements, you know, south of the trails that are being worked on by SOVTA in the crosstown right now, and that section of the Valley Trail that goes extends to the border of Dover. And after having some conversations with our friends at SOVTA and the projects that they have going on in there and will have going on in there, it's not in the cards right now. Too much work in that area will absolutely trigger the 250 for Mount Snow. And that's the last thing that we want to do, because they're kind enough to let us use that property, you know, in SOVTA for our trails and our systems out there. So while I do appreciate the idea and I want you guys to bring me ideas all the time, I just don't think that particular one is in the cards at the moment. And it's something we'll, you know, absolutely try to revisit once, you know, we don't have other projects going on in that same space, because, you know, in talking with Steve and with Tommy a little bit, it's just we don't want to trigger that Act 250 by trying to do too much out in that crosstown area. So I think for right now, we're going to put that one on the back burner. Okay. Any questions on that? Julia and then Tommy. Julia? Oh,
Why can't you get that unmute to work? Just really quickly, that's the section that is sort of south of the Sherwood Forest. That's what we're talking about, that we were gonna try to improve, but that it's not in the cards right now.
correct.
Okay.
Well, this was the item that Mike proposed
Yep.
at our previous meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Tommy?
Yeah, I just want to say, definitely all in favor of it. SOVTA, just, kind of the strategy here is work on these improvements that, Mount Snow is allowing us to do, and also supplying man hours, and helping us, coordinating with us to complete, and kind of, once we get everything that can possibly be done without triggering that 250, SOVTA is very happy, to help with kind of massaging that and figuring out if what exactly, we would need to do, and working with the state, because, we think that's important too. So I just don't want anyone to think that, we don't want to do that.
Oh, no. And I sorry.
Oh, no, you explained it perfect, Eric. I was
Okay,
just
no,
wondering-
I definitely didn't mean, it just, I had the conversation with Steve and it made perfect sense to me that,
Yep.
At this moment, it's a great idea. And I think at this moment, it's just, we need to be intelligent. I mean, SOVTA, myself, other trails groups in the area, I mean, we're the ones boots to ground with 250 and wetlands and all those people. And I think, Steve coming to me and saying, hey, that's not a good idea at the moment. We definitely listen to that type of stuff because it can be very tricky and things get sticky very fast when you try to do too much at once. So I think that's, that was the thinking behind it. I completely agreed with Steve. And I think that, this is something, again, we'll just revisit after, SOVTA has had, their time to get the things done that they want to get done. Cause I think that's going to be super awesome, too. So we got to wait everybody waits a little bit and we'll just keep plugging through these things. Awesome. Sarah, go ahead.
And I forgive my ignorance, but if we're just working on existing trails, so we're not actually making any additional.
We are,
we're
though.
not doing any surface changes.
We are, though. So in what Mike was proposing, it was the widening of the trail and then also the addition of an improved surface, because at this moment, I believe it's raked and it's a trail, but it's not improved surface trail. Mike was talking about, the ladies with the jogging strollers heading down through there, on SurePack and things like that. And, I think the question came up, well, isn't that a wetland? Because there's absolutely wetland down through there. And it was, oh no, it's wet, but it's not a wetland. Well, if chances are, if it's wet, then it's, there's hydric soils you have to think about. There's, class 1, 2, and 3 wetlands, there's buffers, there's a lot to think about. And I think if we try to do too much, like I said in there, we're going to get ourselves, in a sticky wicket. Okay. Any other questions on that? Perfect.
Hey, Eric. It's
Yeah.
Kristen. I just have one quick question. So, and this maybe goes to Tom as part of their improvement projects. I know they've been doing a lot of the stuff that I would describe as the north part of the Crosstown Trail. But I also saw the south part of the Crosstown Trail at that one part, just west of where the culvert washed out, that part of the Valley Trail had been closed. I don't know if they're doing work in that south side of the Valley Trail as well, because then that goes into the Beaver Pond and that nasty bridge over the Beaver Pond that is pretty darn treacherous.
Yeah, so SOVTA is currently working on the north and south sides of Crosstown. I'm pretty sure I'm correct in that, Tommy. I know that when I spoke to Steve, he was south of Crosstown Road. But I know that they had some stuff above the road as well. So I think they're working through all of that in there. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Eric, I think I can help a little. Just
Okay,
so
Mike.
you know, that bridge that is, totally out of whack is not going to be worked on this year. We're hoping to get onto it next year or the year after, but that's a major project with
sure.
fixing that whole bridge over that Beaver Pond area. So just be patient, and we know we have to work on it. And that
Patient,
goes-
patient and careful.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions on that topic? Item, rather. No? Perfect. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is actually kind of twofold. So, as we all know, Horace Hill, because of the design that we had talked about and looked at, and the board approved, and things like that, it is absolutely a multi-use property, right? And we've all heard this one before, right? With the multi-use trails, and I think that we were able to kind of remedy that situation with some pretty simple signage, whereas on Horace Hill, it might be a little more in depth, because you have people, entering, and you could put a sign there. You also have, opportunities throughout at stopping points to have signage about what it means to be on a multi-use property. So I think what we're looking for from you guys is, Shannon and I have been looking through, basics for, multi-use signage and rules and regulations and things like that. What I'd like you guys to do is, kind of, think about if there's rules or regulations that you think we should have up in there, on that signage, or not even rules, but just, basic, guidelines of that multi-use property, just so that we can try to limit as much cross, we're trying to limit problems between the different demographics, right? So we don't want somebody mad that somebody's up there playing disc golf if they're trying to bike, or vice versa, so we want to have clear signage, hey, this is a multi-use property, and everybody's here, work together, things like that. So if anybody has ideas on that signage that you'd like to share with me, by all means, feel free to send them either to myself or Shannon. Shannon, that was not the piece that we had the poll for, correct? Sorry.
No, but I did add a sentence about it.
Okay. On the poll?
Yeah, on the Google form.
Okay. So, gotcha. Sorry. There will be a Google form coming out, which is walking us into the next part of this discussion. There are, I had the number written down, and Shannon, can you help me?
8.
There are currently 8, potentially more, new or existing trails that are going to need names as they are completed. Okay. I can pull up, Shannon, can you give me, I know.
Hold on, I have it. Let me just share it if I can.
Just share it. There you go.
If I can just share that and not the 16 other tabs presently open.
If you didn't know it, everybody needs a Shannon. So find yourself a Shannon.
Let's see.
So as she's pulling this up, we have 8 new or existing trails. And again, I say possibly more because there's going to be a trail connecting all of the disc golf holes as well, that we're going to need some names for on Horace Hill, right? I had reached out to Tommy and asked him to speak with our friends at SoVTA, just because I know they put in a ton of work on that lower loop when we first purchased the property, and I would love to have input from them as to naming ideas, especially down there. I mean, all over the hill, but especially down at the bottom. But Shannon is going to send you guys a Google form to start putting some names to some of
not working very well here.
No, we got it. I can see it. Can everybody else see
Yeah,
it?
I can't share the whole thing for some reason. It doesn't like sharing it
actually-
too big.
That's the bulk of it, though. I think we're only cutting off the section where there aren't any trails. So can everybody see that okay? And we can send this. This is attached to the poll, you said?
This image is at the top of the Google form that you'll get. And when I send minutes, it will also be attached, but we're not sending the Google form to anybody but you guys. So those will come separately, but this is listed there, and if you need it for something else, just let me know and I can send it.
Yep. So you can see by the legend there what things are, you know, and that's on that form. Don't worry about the ones that say disc golf overlap. Those were just holes that we needed to finalize, and that has since been completed. You may also see that we have some disc golf holes that cross pieces of trail. Now, that's on purpose, right? And those are all in areas that are open and accessible so that someone, and this is where that signage about multi-use comes in handy, is that those are all in areas where somebody with a disc is going to be able to see the entire length of the hole and the trail to know that there is no one coming up or down. Okay. And this was, you know, it was going to have to happen just because of the amount of space that we had and how all the things fit together in the wetlands down low there. But you know, both the trails company and the disc golf company are extremely happy with the way that things landed. So, you know, that's just part of the multi-use property. So if you guys don't mind, take this, you know, on the form that Shannon's going to send out. And if you have ideas for any trail names or anything like that, please return them on that form. Shannon, do we want to say by the next meeting? Probably a week before?
I didn't, that's a good question. I didn't do that. Like I didn't say by a certain date, but
Okay.
that's probably a good idea, huh?
Maybe
Well,
we set it
maybe by
for,
through the end of the month. So let's
Okay.
do that.
Yeah, we'll set it for the end of the month there. That would be great. Okay. If you don't have any ideas, that's fine too. We wanted to check in with you guys. Now remember, ultimately, as with the naming of Horace Hill and many other things in town, the select board and the people have the final decision. We're just putting forward some recommendations or ideas as to what those names could potentially be. So if you come up with an amazing name for a trail and it doesn't get chosen, you know, I apologize ahead of time, but that's you know, that's the way it works.
Blame the select board.
Yeah, we'll just blame the select board, but not Sarah Shippey. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, I have something else I want to bring up.
Okay, pertaining to this item?
No,
Oh,
I just didn't want you to rush into adjournment.
okay. Is that
But
so?
no,
Is everybody good with this?
not on Horace Hill.
Is everybody good with this item? Awesome. So I guess, is it an addition to the agenda? I guess I don't know how this.
It's just a general question. I probably should have brought it up under public comments, but I was not thinking clearly.
Okay, so why don't we circle back to item 6, which is general trails and recreation updates, and you can ask your question there because that's what that item was intended for.
Okay. So we know that the bridge, the trail that we were going to build, the bridge across right in front of the town office.
Valley Trail A minus.
Right, Valley Trail A minus. We decided not to do that. My reason for voting against it was I think it's a very dangerous place to put a crosswalk, and made me very nervous. So I wanted to know if the group had any thoughts about either investigating building a bridge, a walking bridge on the other side, which would have to be longer, be more difficult to construct, but it would prevent having to cross the road. You wouldn't have to cross 100 and a blind corner to get, and then that would allow us to continue on down south. Or investigate the possibility of whether the Kirstens would allow us to take an easement across their very small front yard so that we could cross people on that straightaway and then go over. It's just, I don't want to see the idea not happen. I think it's good to be able to have that, the ability to, I mean, I'd love to be able to walk all the way to Wilmington sometime. And if we're not going to go through the woods, because that would be another option, like go up to the airport and then, you know, wander through the woods or something. those are the only two things I could think of that would allow us to keep it near Route 100.
Thoughts, questions, opinions? Julia, I see ya. I see ya. And Kristen, I'll get you next. Go ahead, Julia.
Sarah, can you help me envision this?
Okay.
I'm standing in the town offices on the east side of the street. What are you suggesting?
You're so funny. You think I know what east means.
So,
Oh, I'm on the side that your house is on.
so you're
Thank
on
you.
the, yeah, you're on
Okay,
the
so-
sidewalk. She's talking about a crosswalk crossing the bottom of Door Fitch as opposed
Right.
to crossing Route 100, and the trail being on the Shippey side of the bridge,
Right.
as opposed to crossing 100, then crossing the river, and then crossing 100 again.
Right.
On
So on the
2-1.
Dorfitch side of Route 100 instead of the Bogle Road side of Route 100.
Gotcha. Is there
Any chances
space?
to-
And the state didn't want us to do that because the state felt like it was it was too challenging from an engineering perspective. So maybe if we investigate it with the possibility of not asking for state funds, maybe it would be doable. If we don't get state funds or federal funds, we also don't have the engineering standard that we have to meet necessarily. We would still want a well-engineered bridge. Obviously, we'd still want something that would be successful, but I think some of the costs that we take on trying to get state money may not make sense. We may be able to do it for less money with just as good a bridge and not have to get the state's blessing. We would have to stay outside the right of way of 100, which there is the bridge. So I don't know that that there's a right of way, but they may want a certain amount of distance away because of when they plow, they don't want to be plowing onto the bike walk trail. But if we could put a bridge on that side, we stop people from, what I was envisioning was people get up to that corner, right? And they're going to walk across Route 100. First of all, people coming north of 100, it's blind until they're into the curve. And second of all, if you're on Door Fitch and you're about to turn onto Route 100, you're looking left. You're not looking right. You're just looking to see if somebody's coming. And some poor person steps out onto the road and you're just going to cream them. You won't even know they're there until it's too late.
Sarah, I'm having a thought here just because I feel like this has the potential. I know, right? This has the potential to be a larger conversation.
Yeah, I'm just wanted to see if there was any appetite.
Why don't we, and this is something that I'd like to put on the agenda because I think there are parties invested that might like to be a part of the conversation.
Mhm.
Are you opposed to me making this an agenda item on the next agenda?
Not at all.
Okay, let's do that. I would feel more comfortable just because, like I said, I don't want someone to think that we had the conversation without them in the room.
Right. Well, my hope for this evening was not to get a vote on whether to do it or not, was just to see if anybody had an interest and then think about how we would possibly pursue it. That's
okay. No, and I no, we definitely when we want. Kristen, go ahead.
I don't know if this is premature or not, but it might help, Sarah, even if you could draw it on the back of a napkin, what you're thinking about. Because I'm visualizing it, but I'm not sure I've got it down what you're thinking about. Because then I think from there you go to, so then what becomes the future of that? At some point, do you end up having to cross back over Route 100? Or is there an opportunity that you just end up on the other side of the river and you're going through the effluent area of the Sitzmark?
Well, you wouldn't necessarily have to go that far away, but I see your point. And if we could get people across Route 100 in front of the Kirstens or in front of the Historical Society and keep them over there all the way down, I think that would be awesome. But I don't know that Mickey and Linda are going to want to give up that much they have a very, very small front yard. I don't know that they're going to want to basically give it all up. And it would also mean the Schwarzes would give up where they park their cars. Right. Unless we could do it right between their properties and it only affected Linda and Mickey. So, but I'm more than I think it'd be wonderful to have that conversation with them. And if they said, you know what, we think that's a great idea, give us some landscaping and we'll let you do it, then hoorah, we're all set.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, I think there is an appetite. I think we answered that question that you had posed. So let's definitely put this on the agenda for next month, and it's something that we can start at least processing, and see, you know, where we go from there. Okay. Does that work for everybody?
Mhm.
Good stuff. Okay. Thank you everybody for coming. Started late and early. Good stuff. We're going to, our next meeting is October 10th. And it says if needed, that will be needed, because we're going to have some trail names, hopefully, and some other things to talk about. Beyond that, is there anything else that anybody needs? Reminder to get us those agenda items. I know we send a reminder out the week before, but we need those agenda items by typically the Thursday before our Tuesday meeting, just so that we can have the agenda ready for Friday morning to go out. Okay. Properly warned and whatnot. So on that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Sarah makes a motion, Julia seconds. Awesome. Thank you guys. We'll see you next month.
Good luck.